Hello and welcome back to my Morro Bay Speedway toy box. My phone died earlier this week, which I used to record my audio, and I wasn't sure I was going to be able to publish this today, but I suddenly remembered I could plug into my tablet. So I'm using my tablet to record my audio, which means I'm all ready to go. Today I'm going to start putting down the terrain for this toy box, and to help me out I've got Dory with me. I just hope she remembers why she's here. Maybe we should just get started before she has a chance to forget. And we're going to begin by picking up this piece of terrain and putting it down. My goal today is to put down some of the terrain for this toy box, primarily the base layer for this. And before I go too far, I'm going to move this just a half a block or so to the left. Just nudged it so that it's just a little bit to the left, because when I put this piece down and that edge piece last time, I thought I had to have it sticking out a little further than it actually is. So we need to move this back so that this is underneath the edge of the road. Just like that. As you can see, the road hangs over the edge of that just a little bit. That's actually right where that has to be. And I put this piece down just to help me place that accurately. So, all right, we'll go ahead and pick this up then. And let's put down the base layer for the terrain. So we're going to come a total of 3 out this direction from our starting block. And then we're going to go 2 more in this direction. And we're going to fill this in. And now we're across from our starting block, and we're going to go 2 more in this direction. And then we'll go ahead and fill in the grid, and we're going to go 1 more out this way. So that one goes in there. There we go. So there is most of our base layer, minus the edges. But we have a little bit of track hanging off out here, so we need to go and fill this in just a little bit more. And I don't want to go too far with it, but let's go ahead and pick this piece up, put it down, and we'll use the next size smaller. And as you can see, that comes out almost to the edge of the track, but not quite. We're going to put down, whoops, not there, put down 2 of those like that. Now I am not going to put another one on here because I want to make the reef curve with the road. And so in order to make that happen, we're going to need to put down some different blocks here. And I think the easiest way to do that, we'll start with this block. We'll put in 2 of those there. The next size larger we can fit in here. And then we'll fit 1 more of these in here like this. And I'm going to put this smaller, long, tiny terrain block in here like that. And then we'll put a row of these right across here. And you can see that comes right out to the edge of the road. So we'll go ahead and put a row of these in here. And I don't have to go any further than that. When we drop the ships in there, that'll cover up that in that direction and you won't see it. Okay, so there is the base layer. And I think, or at least the bulk of it, I think the next thing to do is to start putting in the edging. And it's not that the player is actually going to see this, but at least from this side, but they will from above. And so I've put down 2 more of those, and again I want to point out that the left edge of this first one lines up with this terrain, or this racetrack seam, not the terrain seam. There's about a 1 block gap here. And again, if you don't know what I mean by a block, it's one block. That's what I mean. That's the unit of measure that I'm using. All right. Now on this end, we're going to fit in this medium curve under here like this. And that puts a nice curve along the edge of the track. You'll notice, as we place this down, that leaves a 1 block gap under here, because we're off by 1 block over on the other side. And that's fine. That's actually right where I want that, because I want to leave room on the top edge of the canyon here for me to place a few plants later on. And we'll put this one over here like this. Come back around the corner. We're going to place another one of these along this edge like this. And then I need this little gap piece, because again, we're 1 block off from the other end at the starting line. And then that piece goes there like that. And so now this lines up on this edge of the toy box. And we'll stop at that point before we run that down the edge, because we got to fill in some holes here. So let's pick this piece up to get back to that part of the drawer. And we're going to come and use this small, tiny terrain block here, or small flat terrain block, excuse me. We'll place that in there. We'll place that in there. And then we have the gap in the middle, which we need to plug. So we'll do that with these pieces. And we've got some gap over here we need to plug. And we just need to plug the part that's visible. So 2 of those, we'll plug that up. And there we have that end of the reef. And now let's take this piece and run this down this end of the toy box. And once again, the road just kind of hangs off just over the edge of this, which is fine. All right, now we'll go to the next one smaller, and then to the next one smaller, and then we can fit the curve in here, like that. And we're not going to run this edging around the entire toy box, just the parts that are visible. So that's all the farther we need to go. The player's never going to see any of this edge of the toy box or the far edge over there. But they will see some more of this over on this end, so we need to come back to the starting line. I've never heard Dory humming while I'm in the editor. That's interesting. We're going to run this piece down this edge of the toy box. And again, we don't have to go all the way down because the player isn't going to see all of that. But there we go. That is the base layer of the terrain beneath the track. And now let's go ahead and start building up the reef on top of that. And we're going to begin down on this end of the toy box. And today I'm going to focus on this section where the mines roll out. And that's probably all the farther we're going to get today. So I don't have any new tips or tricks for you today. This week and next week and possibly the week after, we're going to be busy putting in the terrain, because there's a lot of it we need to do to build up the reef. Reefs aren't flat, so we need to add lots of terrain layers. And as you can see, the road goes up and down and all around, so it's not a flat racetrack. That's by design. Okay, so let me go ahead and pause here for just a second. I need to pull up my screen grab here for this part of the reef. Alright, so we need to put the next size smaller in there. I've got 2 of these larger ones I put in. Now we're going to do a wide and short canyon wall piece, followed by 2 of these. And those are for spacers that we're going to need. You probably will not see why until next week. Alright, and we'll go ahead and stop at that point, and we'll come back over here, and we'll start building this side of the reef. And I'm going to fit this in. We can use the smaller curve, because I need to make that road accessible. And so we're going to build some canyon walls, edges around this. And excuse me a second, I grab my screenshot. Okay. So we're going to put 2 of these smaller pieces in by way of spacer, and then the next size larger, and then the next size larger, followed by the curve, which goes right here on the edge of that road, followed by another inside corner, and then another curve. Okay, and we'll stop at that point. And then let's go ahead and pick up this piece underneath here again to get back to that part of the drawer. Then we're going to use this piece, and I'm lining up the edge of it with the far canyon wall, as you can see. And I'm going to put down 4 of these, like that. And then we're going to bring this up, and I want to put this down right here. It needs to be 2 blocks wide. So 2 blocks from the left edge of the red block and lined up with the block below. So just like that. So that was pretty good. I was able to eyeball that. And then we'll go to the taller version of this and drop this in here. And as you can see, it goes all the way down to the bottom, and we've got a bit of a gap under there. But that's okay, the player's not going to see that. That actually gives us a place to put some creativitoys later. Then we're going to go ahead and run a row of these all the way down till we get the track back down to the bottom. So just like that. Okay, so there's the backside of the mine rolling hill. Now, for the next section here, I gotta find my screen grab. I apologize for the delay. I thought I was better prepared here. Oh, here we go. Okay. So I'm going to pick up this little narrow piece. Because I have a certain way I had to build this in order to make this all fit. So we're going to drop that there, lined up with the top edge of the ramp. And then we're going to go to the next larger piece, and the next larger piece, followed by the corner. And that gets us to the bottom edge of the ramp. And so that hides that gap underneath the road. Alright, and then we are going to come back over here and pick this up and put it down. And we need to use this small and thin block. And we're going to line it up just like that. And we're going to need 4 of these. Like that. Followed by this tiny terrain block. And I'm going to line this up just like that with that piece of terrain. You'll notice there is a gap in the back. That's alright. Not to worry. The player is never going to see it. And then we'll pick up this piece once again, and we'll cover up the front edge of the gap on the other side of the ramp as it descends. So this piece is going to sit in here just like this, followed by the long wall here, followed by another curve at the bottom. And so now that is all covered up there. And there we have the area where the mines roll out from under the hill. And we've got the terrain underneath the shortcut. Although I guess technically it isn't short. A little bit longer path. But you don't have to worry about the mines or the enemies, the AI cars shooting at you. Alright, we're going to use this taller canyon curve. We're going to fit this to this curve like that. We're going to build kind of a peak here. And the purpose of this isn't just scenery, but to kind of keep the player from cheating on that corner. And now I could drop this here, but I really like to have some extra space on that road for the player to merge back in. So I'm going to use this smaller canyon curve over here. With this outer curve in the middle. So that gives the player just a little bit of extra room to go in there. And eventually I'll fill this in with some plants so that the player can't see through there or be tempted to take that as a shortcut. Well, we've got a pretty good start on the terrain, and I think this is a good stopping point for today. Next time, we'll build the canyon and the underwater mountain for the huge jump. Until then, thanks for watching, and thanks for all the positive feedback on this course. It's one of my favorite tracks to race on, and I'm glad you guys loved the playthrough and the outtakes video for it. I'll be back next Friday to continue the build exercise for this toy box. In the meantime, please hit the like button before you go, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done that. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.